Hi, boys and girls. We are getting ready to start our new science unit, and I decided to have Gigi record me outside so we can talk about the weather, and that's going to be our new science unit is sunlight and weather, okay? But before we get to that, we do want to talk about how all of us are scientists, and in your head, I want you to think about what does a scientist do? What does it mean to be a scientist? All right, so we have a book called Being a Scientist by Natalie Lunis and Nancy White. So you can take a look at the cover and let's talk about being a scientist. Our cover page, Being a Scientist, and that's all right. In our book, in our big book, we have a table of contents. And a table of contents tells us the chapters that are in the story and the page number where that chapter begins. So in this book, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, really just 7 chapters, because then we have a glossary and an index. And we'll look and see what those are at the end of the story. So on page 4, we're going to talk about observing. Okay? Are you a scientist? Do you observe the world around you? Find information by measuring things? Collect rocks, leaves, or shells and sort them into groups? Do you make models? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you're a scientist. Wow, and I know all of you do at least one of these things, if not all of these things. So guess what? All of you are scientists. Observing. Who knows what observing means? Turn and talk to the grown-up or whoever's in the room with you and let them know what you think observing is. If you said observing is looking closely at something, you are right. Scientists' observations lead to information that can help protect the environment. This scientist is checking a water sample. These young scientists are drawing what they observe in a pond. So you can use your NTI journal this week as a way to write down your observations. What animals live in and around a pond? What animals do you see here? Do you know how they move? Do you know what they eat? What else would you like to know about them? You can answer your questions by using your eyes and observing. Look here at the pond. We might see a bird or a crane, a dragonfly, or even a frog. Look how pretty that picture is, and we get to use our sense of sight when we do observations. Measuring is finding out the size, weight, and temperature of things with the help of tools. This scientist is measuring and mixing chemicals. Wow, did you know that's some things that scientists do? This girl is baking bread. How can she find out how much flour she needs? What measuring tool would you use when you're baking? Turn and ask the grown-up that's with you. If you've been in the kitchen before, you would know what tools you might need to measure out your ingredients. All right, we're going to talk about classifying. Classifying is sorting things into groups according to their characteristics. Characteristics are features that help to identify something. Scientists classify plants and animals. Classifications help us understand the natural world. And you know what I like to give as an example of classifying? If you've ever helped any of your grown-ups or helped any grown-ups sort or classify the laundry, a good way to classify is by colors. You don't want to wash your dark things with your white things, okay? So you might have a group of whites, a group of lights, a group of darks, and Miss Henderson actually does a group of reds because we have so much U of L stuff. We separate it into the red group when we're doing laundry. laundry. Okay? How can you sort the leaves in these photos? What are their characteristics? You can tell which ones belong together by classifying them according to size, shape, and color. Wow, look at these cool leaves. Now, how could we sort some of them?
There's the yellow.
Maybe color we could use, like we do with the laundry. These two could go in a group because they have yellow. These two could go in a group because they have green. Or we could do it by how many points. Like this one doesn't have any, well, it has 1 point. So maybe a leaf that has more than 1 point would be these guys, and just 1 point is here. So that's a good way to classify things by size, shape, and color. Predicting. Can you say the word predicting? Predicting is making a guess about what might happen. Scientists use their experience and knowledge about wind, clouds, temperature, and air pressure to forecast or predict the weather. And that's what our science unit's going to be this next 6 weeks. We're going to be talking about the weather. So we have to make good predictions when it comes to the weather. Now, Miss Henderson's favorite weather would be right here. Some weather where we can be at the beach. Predicting the weather helps us decide what to wear. If it is cold, we know we should wear warm jackets, hats, and gloves. What would you wear for the weather in these photos? Well, like I said, this is my favorite photo on the paper. So I think I would be in a sun hat and a bathing suit. Oh, it's a rainy day down here, so what would we need? What would you wear on a rainy day? Ooh, look at this one. Raise your hand if you've ever been snow skiing before, and what did you have to wear when you went snow skiing? And even if you haven't been snow skiing, you know if there's snow, we're not going to wear the same thing as we would wear in this picture. Scientists also they also create and make models. So making a model is creating a smaller version of things in order to understand them better. No one knew what prehistoric animals looked like until scientists made models of them. This scientist is using what she learned from making models to reconstruct the skeleton of a mammoth. You can learn a lot by making a model. What models are these students making? What can they learn from each of them? So we have a model with craft sticks and glue. Looks like they're making a bridge. This little girl is putting together a dinosaur. And down here, oh, he is making a model of a volcano. That'd be a cool experiment. It's not an actual volcano, right? But it's a model. It's a smaller version of the real thing. So scientists also do lots of testing. And that's where they're trying out something to find out if it works. This scientist is doing a test using a robot fish to find out why fish are such good swimmers. Have you ever tested batteries to find out if they work? Testing batteries will help you know they are ready to use when you need or want them. Oh, and once we have done all these observations and classifying and making models, we need to communicate the information, which is telling and showing others what you've learned. Sometimes scientists visit schools to show and tell students things they know about science. And this scientist is from a marina. And as you can see, this is a starfish, and he must have done lots of scientific experiments and models and classifications on this starfish. How are these students sharing information? So how are they going to communicate their information? How could you let other people know about the exciting things you've discovered? You could draw a picture, which that's what we're going to ask you to do in your NTI journals. You can make a chart or write a report. You could put all your information together in a fact-filled presentation. And you guys are probably so good on the computer. Some of you all could probably already make PowerPoints to give us a presentation. So, the next time you're observing, measuring, classifying, predicting, making models, testing things, or communicating and sharing ideas, you're learning and you are being a scientist. Woo woo, you are a scientist. All right. Lastly, in our book, we have the glossary, and a glossary is like a dictionary. It gives you the definitions of how, or it tells you how to say things, say the words, and it tells you what that word means. Okay, so we have characteristics, classifying, communicating information, environment, forecast, making models, measuring, observing, predicting, and testing. This particular book thought that these were the really key and important words in the story for you to know what they mean. And then if you have something in your head, you're like, I wonder where I can find stuff about predicting. Well, in the index, we could go and see if they have that as a topic. Right here it says predicting. I would need to look on pages 10 and 11. So, boys and girls, now that we know what it means to be a scientist, in your NTI journal, we want you to open it up to the next clean page. Make sure you put the date on it, 8/31/20, which is August 31st, 2020, and you're going to draw a picture of yourself as a scientist doing something we talked about that scientists do. Okay, and remember, if you can write down the words that match your illustration, that's great. If you cannot write the words, make sure you tell a grown-up, and then the grown-up can write down what you're illustrating for us, okay? So, again, get out your NTI journal, make sure you put today's date, and then you're going to draw a picture of you, yourself, as a scientist doing one of these things. Tell a grown-up what's in your illustration and have them jot it down. Or if you want to try to write to tell us what you drew on your illustration, that would be great. All right, if you have any questions, make sure you email me. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.